launching downfield, underthrown and intercepted. Keely Ringo has an escort down the sidelines.
Heartbreak, longing, despair, letdown, choke.
These are words Atlanta sports fans are all too used to hearing.
Until now.
Dansby throws to first base. Is this happening?
No more negative expectations. No more playing the victim. No more fair weather freeloaders. No more.
38-yard field goal by Morton Anderson. The hold, the kick, it's on the way, it's up and going. The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl. The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl.
From the Mesmerized Studios in Woodstock, Georgia, Believe Entertainment proudly presents Believe in Atlanta Sports with your hosts, Robert Taylor and the Commissioner, Mark Rich.
Welcome, Atlanta sports fans, to this episode 7, version 2.0. And you're probably going, what are you talking about? Well, you know what? We have our first lost episode. We actually have a couple, but we did one the other day, and we left. And Mark brought up a good point. He said, man, I don't know that one should see the light of day. He's like, that's probably not going to do us any favors, and he was right. So we scrapped it, but we're back, and it's new and improved because we have a very special guest today, Dr. Drew Yeager, officially now. I should have brought the crown from the last episode because I'd let you have it. You are our first real, true, official fan, and we'll tell you why in a minute, but we got a little housekeeping to do. Thank you. A million thank yous. Mr. Brian Scott, retired NFL defensive back, formerly of the Atlanta Falcons. So much fun having him.
I don't know if that was enough thank yous.
Yeah.
It was an incredible interview and just a really, really cool guy.
And I was in my head the whole time afterwards because I don't think we talked about it during the show. You saw it. You can tell me if I'm repeating myself, but I got pulled over on the way here. I was going a few miles too fast in a school zone and took up a little of my time, so I just rushed in because he was already here, and I was like, he's got an appointment down the hall to do some video work because his company's partnering with the Falcons, and we didn't do a lot of sports talk because we fanboyed out because how often do you get to sit in a room with a guy that's won the Walter Payton Award, and he was on Shark Tank, he owns a boxing gym. The list goes on and on. Super interesting. Oh, I should mention he played for Joe Paterno, too. That's crazy enough. So anyway, thank you again, and we actually are going to talk some sports today, but first we're going to talk to Dr. Drew Yeager because he is a sports chiropractor. He's going to tell us a little bit about that because there are different kind of fields of chiropractic work, and they do vary a little bit, but we're going to kind of debunk the myths. So first of all, welcome to the show, Dr. Drew, and just kind of tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Dr. Drew Yeager. I work at Addison Chiropractic and Sports Clinic in Kennesaw. Shameless plug. I am a chiropractor, and I work with primarily athletes. So I was an athlete myself and went through the physical therapy realm, chiropractic growing up. Decided I wanted to be a chiropractor, and I see all types of patients, but athletes is where I kind of find that I really just geek out over because I love the return to play situation. And so I've gotten to work with some really cool athletes and just getting into this community and trying to promote myself. So I do a lot of soft tissue modalities in conjunction with chiropractic, right? So I have an evidence-based practice, whereas I look at a lot of research and try to figure out the best ways to help my patients with anybody suffering with pain or any sort of movement dysfunction. We kind of approach it from a functional standpoint rather than a holistic health or just snap, crackle, and pop practice. So
there is science behind it, and I will tell you right now, being in the restaurant business for many, many years, more than I would like to count, there was a time probably early to late 30s. It was about a 6 or 7 year span that I went to a lot of doctors, told them what I was going through, and unfortunately they prescribed pain pills, muscle relaxers, skeletal, muscle relaxers, a lot of stuff. They told me to stretch a little bit, but it works because it wasn't until I went and sought chiropractic help, the problem was really solved. And I thought, you go in and they just kind of start doing the cracking and everything. They took x-rays. They started with doing some leg exercises and other things on the table. And we didn't actually get to the actual adjustment part till like 3 or 4 visits in. But I'm telling you, when I tell you it was excruciating, I mean, I had to hide it sometimes. And there were days that I had to put my pants on laying down. It was that bad. And when I went and did that, nothing ever since. Stretching and everything. So it does work. And it's not, everybody sees that crazy commercial with City Williams and, Life College. And there's the story came out about the young lady who unfortunately had an artery severed. So just I give it a shot because it does work. There is science behind it. It is not a bunch of hooey like some people say. Now, there are some kooky chiropractors out there. We've talked about this before, but there is a difference. I'm going to go. I know Mark's going to go. So one reason, that's not the only reason we brought you on, because we, not that we're always going to have like-minded people on here, but we went to the Woodstock Business Club, and the first time you ever approached us, you said, man, I really like the idea of like a fan-centric, hometown-based sports show because you're not a big fan of Atlanta radio. And again, I don't want to beat up on it, but you don't get that with Atlanta radio. So just thank you for that.
My eyes twinkled when you said that to us. It's like, oh my God, he just repeated our mission statement back to us. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
So I guess maybe just give us kind of a little background, growing up in the state and kind of your experience with Atlanta sports and kind of your experience. I don't know if you were a big Atlanta sports radio guy, but just kind of a little, first memories maybe, first Braves game or first Falcons game, first Georgia game because you're sporting the Georgia here.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
All day long and twice on Sunday, man. So, yeah, just a little something, kind of your experience as an Atlanta fan and how you've seen it and how it's made you feel. We can talk about our feelings, right, guys? It's 2022.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Let's get into it. Yeah, I actually I'll start from the very beginning. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. I think kind of my first fandom was probably the St. Louis Cardinals. So when I was a kid growing up, Mark McGwire was at the tail end of his career. So some of my earliest memories as a kid is going to Busch Stadium and watching Mark McGwire play. This mountain of a man, right, steroid era. And I moved here to Atlanta when I was 6 years old. So this has pretty much been home for me. I've adopted the Atlanta fan base, and they've somewhat adopted me. I think my first team I was a fan of when I moved here was definitely the Braves. Always kind of I'm a horrible baseball player, but I love baseball. I stunk at it, so I quit playing it. But I've always loved the Braves. I remember going to Braves games at Turner Field when I first moved here. And I actually grew up on the south side, so it was a little more convenient. But now I live on the north side, so this is a lot more convenient. But, so I grew up in the Fayetteville, Georgia area, went to Whitewater High School, played with a lot of good athletes, saw a lot of athletes come out of there. And so, I don't think I would have gotten the same sports influence if I would have stayed in St. Louis as I do here, right? Everybody is just like diehard fans of their teams, right? Georgia, Atlanta Braves, Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons are getting there, but even, with the addition of Atlanta United several years ago, people have just adopted them. And so I have just fallen in love with Atlanta sports, and this last year was just super magical. I mean, it just crazy.
Well, there are diehard fans here. I will say that, but there's also those fair weather freeloaders, and there's also some that need a rap on the beak. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Hawks, Falcons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of our mission. Again, I know people are going to get tired of us saying it, but it really is. There's a lot of guys the only reason they give us our news is because they have a financial interest. They're paid by someone to do it. They're not emotionally invested, and that's why we're here to do all this stuff for free. So we know you got an appointment coming up. So we need to dive in and talk a little Braves. And man, do you smell that? That's the Braves because they are on the hunt. They are 1.5 games back of the Mets now. Mets are metting. Not saying they're done by any stretch of the imagination because their September schedule is pretty easy, but the Braves are too. But the Mets are 4-6 in their last 10. Braves are 8-2. And this is going to be something to watch at the end of this month coming up. The Mets have the Dodgers for 3. That's a big series for the Mets. That's when you could see the switch.
Shift.
Yep, the switch happen, and see the Braves take over first place. But the more important thing I want to talk about is, anybody watch the game yesterday at all?
I watched the game in like 3-minute increments, and in those 3-minute increments, the score jumped by 4 or 5 runs each time. It was insane. I didn't get to see a whole hell of a lot of it. Did get to see Olsen. That was sweet.
Hit a bomb into the Allegheny River. Braves beat the Pirates 14-2. It's always fun to watch.
I feel like there's a pile of dead fish with a baseball just stuck in the top of them.
It might be. I just love watching the Pirates lose to the Braves, just from the early 90s, those Braves-Pirates NLCS series with Bonds. And I don't know, do you remember those series at all?
Very vaguely.
Okay, I'm a little older than anybody else in the room, but I remember Andy Van Slyke sitting in center field crying and just being like,
We got it.
Those were some killer series, those, man. I mean, the Braves and Pirates duked it out. It was a slugfest. I mean, it was 7 games a lot of times, but so, I mean, the Braves are hot right now. Hot again. And only, right at the right time. Again, they're heating up again, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about the game of baseball. You could be great all year, but it's how you finish out the season. And everybody wants to talk about the Dodgers. They have the best record in baseball. That is a bugaboo, man, going into the playoffs. The team with the best record oftentimes does not win the World Series.
Nope.
No,
I was just going to say that the best record could mean you started out white hot and, you're tapering off a little bit and you got a little bit going on the tail end of the season. But when you start off and you're a little rocky and at the tail end you start catching heat, those are the teams you always have to be afraid of.
And one thing I don't think I'm too worried, because I don't think they'll let it bother them, but it is kind of starting to heat up, and there's been some articles come out as Dansby contract talks. What's going to happen? How's it all going to play out? Because we said, yes, he is represented by Excel. He is represented by Freddie Freeman's management and former agent Casey Close. They're like, how's that going to play out? Were there any lessons learned? And I can tell you why we probably were not going to repeat a Freddie situation is, number one, the guy is from here. Right down the road, Marietta High School. He's a Blue Devil. He wants to be here. I mean, he grew up a Braves fan. Does have something to do with it. He's setting roots here. He's married. He's got family here. And also with these signings that have just happened, they've signed everybody up.
The future is bright.
Michael Harris.
Locked in.
Yeah, Michael Harris signed. Acuna signed. Albies signed. Riley signed. Got some arms that are going to get signed. So he's comfortable. He knows he's going to be throwing the ball across the diamond to Olsen for many, many years now. He doesn't have to wonder who he's going to be playing with. He's going to be turning double plays with Ozzie for a long time now. Everybody. So that's a good, solid core. You want to talk about chemistry? I will take chemistry over talent, like just a locker room full of superstars, any old day of the week. You give me a team with just some good, solid players and chemistry all day long. Because you saw how the Yankees, they filled up that locker room with all those big talents, and they...
Yankees, how about the Red Sox? The blue-collar Bo Sox, whenever you get that blue-collar feel from the Red Sox, that's when you get worried. Not when they go out and sign a couple of huge free agents in the offseason. It's just names. It looks good on paper. But when you get that team chemistry and that blue-collar feel, Do you think that the Freddie Freeman, the whole situation, how it went down, how they immediately went out and got Olsen afterwards because they knew Freddie wasn't going to work out, do you think that is almost a cautionary tale now? Now we know that the Braves are serious, and if you guys aren't going to play ball, then they will go out and make the move that they need to make to get where they need. And we talked about earlier, is there any pressure with Vaughn Grissom being here on Dansby, or does that give us any leverage? I don't think it gives us any leverage, but I think what it does is if they can't come to an agreement, we already have a backup plan in place. So I don't think that there's any chance we don't sign Dansby. I really don't. The way AA is going right now and the way this team is, first of all, I don't think he wants to go anywhere else. And second of all, I think Anthopoulos is going to get it done. But I really, truly feel like just the way that the Freddie Freeman whole contract thing went down, like I feel like cautionary tale might not have been the right way to say that, but like you look at it and you know that even Freddie Freeman, they couldn't come to terms on what he wanted to do. So before it was all said and done, they went out and got their guy and they were ready to go. Like it's a business, man. It's
Braves
still
have
a
always
business.
been that way. Cutthroat.
Yeah.
You know, they don't bargain. It's just it's a Braves way. It's always been that way. You know. So how did you feel when the news came out? We'll beat the Freddie Freeman horse for a little bit. As a fan or just watching it go down, what were you thinking? I mean, were you angry?
I think at first I was a little disappointed, but when I saw what we got in return, I was pleasantly surprised, right? I mean, you get Matt Olson, who's a younger guy, who's slugging the baseball in Oakland. I was upset because I love Freddie, and I think, you talked about chemistry. I think Freddie was the basis of that chemistry in that locker room, right? I mean, he kind of led by example. He's kind of still a younger guy, but he was kind of the grandpa of the team because he was there for so long. But I had mixed emotions, man. It took me a long time to put my Freddie Freeman jersey back on. And then when the news resurfaced about, his agent and withholding information, I was kind of like, oh crap.
And that whole sitting in the back
this
of the
is deeper
dugout thing. It was
exactly. Yeah. I mean, you just watch him on his return to Atlanta. I mean, you can just totally see somebody who was gypped, right? I mean, I think he was kind of heartbroken, actually.
Ooh, well, okay. I don't know if he was gypped. And I'll say this. I stole this, I want to say, from Mark Bowman, and I've said it a few times. Freddie knows. We know. And Freddie knows we know. Because, listen, Chipper said it. We'll just beat this horse. We've been talking about it, and maybe we'll just chime in. I know it's old news, it's old hat, but maybe people want to know how we feel about it. He didn't take control of the situation. Chipper Jones said if you want to play in Atlanta, you play in Atlanta. You maybe take a little less to stay somewhere where you feel comfortable, somewhere that's home. Your agent works for you. And nobody will ever know. You can say all you want in the news. Nobody will ever know what really conspired except for Alex Anthopoulos, Braves organization, Freddie Freeman, and Casey Close. But I was fuming. And I'll never put on a Freeman jersey again. Still want to see Freddie eat, just not at my table. And I've definitely softened a lot, but I think the bulk of this is on him. Because if he really wanted to be here, he should have done what was necessary to stay here. Guy was already worth a ton of money. He played chicken with the Braves and he lost. Mm-hmm. And he should have known better because he's close friends with probably one of the top 3 Braves of all time. He's up there with Hank Aaron, Glavine Maddox, Chipper. He's Chipper.
But didn't it also felt like he literally groomed him? Like Chipper groomed Freddie to be the next Chipper on the team.
Oh yeah.
And so that, and I don't want to call him a glue guy because I feel like glue guy is downplaying what his actual role is. But he was probably the veteran leader glue of the locker room, everything within, and it was a little weird to start the season out this year with him not there, and you could tell there was just a weird feeling, and then we've slowly gotten past it, and now we're here.
Well, it's without question, he was the Atlanta Braves. Yeah. He was going to be it. He was going to be the next Braves legend, the next guy to play his entire career in Atlanta, and it's his fault, period. You can disagree with me if you want, but it's his fault. He allowed his agent. I don't know. I wish I could meet him. I don't know. I wish I could get some inside information to what transpired. But I think that's why he was so emotional.
Well,
because he was like, "Oh man, I really effed up." Coming back to Atlanta, he's like, "I should have done things differently. I should have handled it differently." He should have known. And this is what I said the whole time. You knew better how the Braves did this, the Braves way. You, of anybody, should have known it. And you sat there at the end of the World Series saying, "I want to be here." Mm-hmm. The Braves said, "We want you here." How did it not get done? Period.
I want to retract my statement I said gypped, but I think what I meant was if it's true what happened with his agent, he was not gypped from a financial standpoint by any means. I mean, he got his money. I think we honestly were offering him a little too much money, and then Dodgers obviously offered him a little bit more. But when I say gypped, I don't mean they pulled the rug out from under him. I mean, I just think if that situation is true, then maybe there wasn't some transparency. But I agree. I agree with you. I don't disagree with that.
You know what's worse? After deferred salary and California taxes, he's making less.
It's the most insane part. Disappointment was like the overall emotion. Like most people, there are a lot of fans that were like super, super pissed off. And that is totally a fair emotion when it comes to the situation. But I was just so disappointed because you very rarely get to see the guys that play their entire career in a place. And Freddie Freeman just absolutely seemed like one of those guys.
Should have been.
Yeah, no, but like you I almost didn't even think twice about it. Like, there's no way this isn't going to happen. And when it happened and the way it happened, like, it was just like very disappointing. And you could just literally just reading comments, reading articles, listening to fans at the beginning of the season. There was a Freddie hangover. The fans had a Freddie hangover, and they booed Matt Olson. They booed him in his first game.
I disagree with that.
Oh, they called him Trash Can Olson.
Yeah, but are you kidding me?
Right.
That's your future at first base. Like, that pissed me off.
Yeah.
But I was at opening day, and I didn't know what to do. I was just like,
But that's one of the
Where am
reasons
I?
why we're doing this show, too, to say, behave yourselves, Atlanta fans. Do better, be better. Like, it's over. He's gone. I felt like I'd been stabbed in the heart, betrayed. I was like, Mm-hmm. And in some way, but I'm definitely over it now. I'm definitely not as mad. I'm like, okay.
and be upset about it. But look at the position we were put in with Olsen. Like, if he's as advertised, and we have him locked in, like that. We just went out and got your first baseman of the future who's about to get to play against no shift. Like, shut up and enjoy what you have.
It's 100% a good situation. It is. I was a Freddie guy, man, all day long. Freddie guy. He was my favorite.
Everybody
Brave,
was.
And now I'm just like, hey, good luck to you. I hope we kick your ass up and down the field in the playoffs. I hope you never win a World Series in LA. He's a Hall of Famer
Glad
already.
to see you batting 350 in LA.
It's fine. We're fine, man.
But
fine.
Like, it's one of those things. I always wondered, I wonder if when I die, I get to know who shot JFK. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you just get some information when you pass on? I just want to know, like, what really happened with Freddie? Please just tell me the truth. I just want to know.
So yeah, that's the Freddie horse. It's been beat. And I think Dansby's going to take a hometown discount. I think he'd learned a lot from that situation. I think he'll probably be more involved in his contract talks, and he'll make sure if Dansby wants to be here, he's going to make damn sure he stays here. I think those are the lessons learned, and I don't think the Braves need to learn any lessons. I think the Braves are like, this is how we do it. This is what we're offering. You want to be here, again, the whole Chipper thing. You want to play in Atlanta, you play in Atlanta. Period, end of story.
And then we erect the Alex Anthopoulos statue.
So now shifting focus, since, we're going into September, it's coming up, what do you start to talk about in playoffs? You start to talk about arms. So let's talk about arms. We've got some stuff coming up in the pipes. Mike Soroka is started down in Rome. He had 4 innings.
Are we allowed to talk about him? Should we just keep this under wraps and just make it like a little backroom secret until it comes to fruition?
I kind of want to, because I don't want to jinx it. I mean, the guy's been out for. It's almost like
everybody knock on the table.
The legend of Mike Soroka. Knock on wood or knock on wood. But yeah, he fanned 8 of 9. First 8 of his 9 batters, gave it 1 hit, so they bumped him up to AAA. His AAA start was pretty good. But, they asked him, they said, what do you have to do to be back? And he's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I've got to ball out. I've got to be great. And the question people are asking is, are the Braves rushing him back? And my answer to that is no. If anybody's rushing anyone back, it's Soroka rushing himself back. I think they're going to have to hold him back because he's a competitor. He had that phenomenal rookie season. He hasn't thrown a ball in over 2 years. I think they're going to have to be like, whoa, bud, I know you're ready. I know you're ready to go, but just be cool. So my vision is he's going to be back sometime at the end of the September call-ups, and he's going to be in that bullpen, middle relief. That's how I see it shaping up. So, yeah. It's
right? No, I felt
that emoji, way. The smile emoji with the teeth, like
that start in Rome. If I'm not mistaken, the 8 of 9, that 1 hit he gave up, I think he he then turned around and doubled that guy to end the inning, and that was it. So yeah, great start. The AAA a little different. You ruptured your Achilles twice.
Mm-hmm.
You ruptured it. You came back. You tore it again walking into the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that's not easy. I can imagine doing it one time, let alone twice. Same foot. Like, yikes.
We talked about it, too. What that can do to your psyche, like that competitive edge. It's hard. Chris Medlin did it, but to come back from injuries. But it looks like he's going to make it. I don't want to jinx it. So let's just stop. Let's stop. Let's just stop talking about it.
Okay.
But so something you and I talked about yesterday, and I've got a little caveat to this. Cy Young talk is starting to kind of get bantered around, and you wondered why Max Fried wasn't in those talks. And, I did a little digging, and I wonder why, because he's very quietly done this in the background. I wondered why nobody's talking about Kyle Wright.
You're right. They should both be there. Kyle Wright just got a 16th win last night. He's
16-5, third straight quality start. 7 of his last 8 have been quality starts. And you're probably going, well, Robert, what's a quality start? Quality start in baseball is 6 innings or more, 3 runs or less. 2.99 ERA, 144 strikeouts, 44 walks, and 147.2 innings. So I would argue that he's our ace over Fried. Fried's what, 12-4, 13-4, something like that?
Sure. I mean, you can take it either way. You can't discount what he's doing. I just, for whatever reason, feel like Fried's our guy. But either way, Kyle Wright is having an amazing year. It bodes well. Like if the guy we're not going to talk about comes back to rare form, like that's a formidable front 3.
And to have a rookie like Spencer Strider coming in and he's a gunslinger, dude. I mean, that starting bullpen is.
Ian Anderson figures his stuff out. Like you have potential. Like the bullpen actually. I mean, aside from Kenley Jansen doing his best like Will Smith impression of last year, but we all saw how that worked out for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Kyle Wright is maybe the least talked about winningest pitcher in the majors right now. I don't think anybody talks about him. I don't see his name outside of Atlanta. I don't see anybody talking about him.
So the other guy, he's kind of like Voldemort now. We won't mention his name, but what if he comes in?
Hufflepuff. Right?
Yeah. What if he comes in a late inning role, a closer role, something like that? But people talk about Ian Anderson. There's not a lot of news on him. But he pitched 5 1/3 scoreless 4 or 5 days ago. But here's 3 things real quick that Ian Anderson has. And let's not forget, he's 24. He's not over. I mean, guy, he had a sub-2 ERA in the playoffs last year. Sparkling. Big reason we won the World Series. Third pitch he can trust. Everybody knows this. The Twitter GMs will argue and say he has him, but he doesn't. He needs a third pitch that he can trust and mix in. He's got to get better command of his fastball at the top of the strike zone, and he's got to throw that changeup more for strikes to get ahead in the count, because everybody knows Ian Anderson gets behind in the count, he's in trouble. He's got to stay ahead of the count. If he does those things, which I think he will, and who knows, man, advice comes from the strangest of places in baseball sometimes. They might ask him, hey, how'd you figure it out? Well, they got a bullpen catcher down there in Gwinnett.
Yeah.
It's just weird, So you go down there, you get your head straight, and Snicker's already said he's got a plan for him, and he's got a whole month. I think the September call-ups are like around the 20th, like the end of the month. So he's gonna be fine, and everybody, that's kind of our pitching, kind of a breakdown for you. I mean, I'm not worried about it.
Pitching, I'm not worried about it at all, and honestly, I totally blanked on Strider for a second there, but I just feel like Strider's coming into his own, and if Soroka can get anything close to what he had back, he's like just an instant stud.
I mean, let's all just for a minute. Oh, the button doesn't work. Oh, that's the crickets. Oh well, hey, it's.
Do you want dream or magic?
Oh, let's do it all. Just dream of this lineup: Spencer Strider, Mike Soroka, Max Fried, Kyle Wright.
Yeah.
Next season.
Yes, please.
And then what if What if we get Jacob deGrom?
And what do we do with Ian Anderson?
Unstoppable. I don't know. I don't know what you do with him. Maybe we don't need deGrom. Maybe we save the money. Because if Ian Anderson gets it, and I think Ian Anderson straight up, look what he did against the Astros, who they all say are one of the best teams in baseball. Chipper Jones said it. The guy's got major league stuff. It's not uncommon for a guy to go away for a while, minor leagues, figure it out, and come back better. He said he's playing the worst baseball he ever has in his life. So he's just got to get over that mental aspect. Or we find the guy in the red turtleneck that Smoltz had and just put him up in the stands. Either way. Now, the next big thing everybody talks about, Vaughn Grissom, Ozzie Albies. So here's what I propose to you. This is why I've always liked the DH and always wanted the DH instead of putting him back on the field, because Grissom's hammering the baseball right now, and he's good. Let Ozzie DH some. He comes back a little slow. He sees some pitches, gets some ABs, tests that foot out.
Sure.
Then when he's okay, there's an opening in left field, sir. Would you like to apply?
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, you're hired.
Well, it seems logical. Like that seems like exactly what the plan should be. And like even the DH thing, that like it's a beautiful thing. Like the other day we didn't have to take Ronnie out of the lineup, but we got to keep him as a DH, and it just makes the most sense. You don't want to rush anybody back if you don't have to, and you don't know your first game back. You don't know how you're going to feel out there running around. So yeah, but Grissom can't go anywhere. Like he's white hot fire right now.
So we gotta make some plans for the playoffs. Are you a big playoff? Like, do you have like parties or you go out to bars?
Love it. Yeah. We
got to get some playoff stuff going.
Just rent out a floor of the Omni and just watch from the balconies.
I mean, we'll have to get the DeLorean from Doc Brown if we want to rent out the Omni, but we can do it.
The hotel next to
Oh man, I don't got it like that. I mean, I don't know. How's your practice doing? You got it like that?
I need a couple more of these podcasts going.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I'm going to try to get down to the stadium for sure, man, because I'm excited. Because guess what? Everybody's sleeping on the Braves again, and I don't know why.
I love it.
This is a random thought that popped in, but the Braves are in second place. They're a wild card. They're approaching 80 wins. The AL Central is so bad. The first place team, the Cleveland Indians. That's right. I called them the Indians. They're 10 games above 500.
Wait, they're not the Indians?
No, they're the Guardians, the Cleveland Guardians. They're 66 and 56, though. The AL Central is horrendous.
Jeez.
The Brewers are one game out in the wild card. I hope they overtake the Padres, just because I want to laugh at the Padres and point my finger that they sold the entire farm for Juan Soto and they forgot about pitching.
They forgot about a lot of stuff. Like that turned into a giant dumpster fire real quick.
Yeah. So we're gonna wind this one down pretty soon, but the one thing that we want to touch on that we haven't talked about yet is our friend Marcell Ozuna. Ben Ingram trolled the hell out of him the other day. He came up to bat, and Ben Ingram introduced him as Marcell Ozuna of the Braves because he said that during his arrest. And this was actually discussed in the Lost episode, but you were wondering why he was in the game and like, what's he doing? What's going on? And you found the answer to that question. So share with our audience just why Marcell Ozuna was playing. And when you said it, hey, makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously you just like, yeah, God, this doesn't make sense. Like we'd already talked a million times about how I don't feel like he should have been in the lineup regardless of getting a DUI or anything like that. But again, there's an interview with Snicker, and he said that, he's on the team. Until he's not on the team, like, he's available to play. I need him to play. So he's playing. Cut and dry, plain and simple. Brian Snicker's not there to dole out punishment or choose his fate or anything like that. So that's a player on his team, and he's doing what he feels best to win. So when it was explained like that, I was like, okay, I'm that's what it is.
Brian Snicker basically looked at Braves country and said, mind your own effing business. This is my ball club. I'll do what I want.
Yeah, until they tell me he doesn't play for the Braves anymore and I need him, I'm going to use him.
Don't even get me started.
Hey, man. Hey, come on.
I just apparently you need the arm of a 4-year-old to throw from left field. I mean, I don't know if I liked Marcel when he first got here. I mean, he's a little showboaty, but you need one of those on your team, right? But I feel like the production has not matched the drama. Does that make sense? And I don't mean that to say like, oh, well, if you're producing at the highest level, you can do whatever you want. I certainly don't think hitting your spouse is excusable by any means. I think everybody can agree to that. Everybody listening as well. And I get it. People make mistakes, but when you're not producing and also doing stuff like this, it's just never good. I understand where Snicker's coming from. As far as, he's a player and he's available, but I just feel like that's kind of inexcusable.
Well, there's the classic case, and let's go all the way back to, the 50s. Mickey Mantle was an animal, but the dude hit over 300. He's smashing home runs and chasing down, fly balls. So they kind of looked the other way at his behavior. And it's still true today. Now domestic violence, no, that's not looked the other way on. But, yeah, if you're smashing the baseball and I don't care what sport you're in. If you're performing, yeah, they probably turn a little blind eye on your, extracurricular activities for sure.
Well, it just seemed like his production dropped correlated with the
incident,
all the off the field stuff. So I, for me, and we talked about this earlier, I don't think I know more than Brian Snicker. I don't know one iota of what Brian Snicker knows about baseball, but I just don't, like, production-wise, I didn't think he should be there. He's a defensive liability. Like, it's not even like we have somebody better. Like, you're a liability out there. And at the plate, you're just not performing, and, like, you add this on top of it, it just doesn't seem – I'm sure everybody else is confused because there's a lot of casual fans out there that don't know what's going on, but they're like, that guy just got a DUI, and his coach is letting him play. Like, I don't think people understand, like, what's actually happening. So when Snicker explained what's going on, because he's not judge, jury, and executioner, he's in charge of running that baseball team. And so putting him in the lineup when he needed somebody to play in that position, even though it might not have been the best person, we all think that somebody else could have done better in left field, but he needed somebody in left field. That guy's on the roster, and he's going to use him.
That's another thing, too, though. Everybody's saying he got arrested for a DUI. He got arrested on suspicion of a DUI. Yeah, now, is he going to get one? Probably. He didn't take any of the field sobriety tests, but he has not been convicted of a DUI. And the Braves have pretty much said, hey, we're going to play this by the book, and we're going to assume innocence until proven guilty. We're going to see how it plays out. And the argument that I made was maybe you get him in there and maybe something happens to where he comes out of his funk. And he starts to, perform a little better, and maybe his value goes up a little bit, or some other teams see that, oh, okay, there he is, because he's a great baseball player. There's no question about it, man. He ripped it up with the Marlins. When him and Christian Yelich were with the Marlins, I was like, I'd like to have one or both of those guys in Atlanta. And we got one. He made a stop with the Cardinals, but more importantly, something's going on with that dude.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. Everybody
talked
wants
about this in the last one
yeah,
too. Like,
everybody
I
wants,
hope he's okay. Like,
yeah.
I truly do. Like, there's a lot of things, a lot of red flags, but like you hope he's okay as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird situation for the Braves right now.
So I actually interned with a sports chiropractor from St. Louis. He was the Cardinals chiropractor, and we just were chatting, and we're both baseball fans. And I think knowing what I know about him from a locker room perspective kind of taints my vision of him. Sure. Because I've heard so many stories, even just in St. Louis, like all the stuff he was doing, and I was kind of like, oh boy, here we go. So I'm not a huge fan of his. I was previously when he first started, and then, it's just tough. I just think defensively, like you said, there's got to be a better option somewhere in that ball club.
Well, here's another point to think about. Does he get left off the postseason roster? Because if Albies comes back and he's got a healthy foot and he's fine, Grissom goes to left field. You got Rosario. Do we need him? Because we have Grossman. Do we need? And the answer is no. So it could be.
We do a dance. We do a dance when Albies comes back. Because then you don't. We talked about this too on another show. You got the whole Contreras Darno thing. you can literally, whoever's not catching, put the other one in the DH spot, and you're still good everywhere else on the field. Obviously, I know sometimes somebody else is going to need some rest, but we're just in a really good position as far as having a few utility players that can rotate around to be able to give people breaks and put them in the DH role if they need it. And, yeah, I don't think we're going to need him. I don't think he's going to make it on there. Would it be wonderful to get some value up for him, that silver lining of, like, maybe this clicks something in his head and his focus comes back and he goes out and performs? Do I think we're going to even be able to see if he performs? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the court of public opinion has already ruled, and I think that's going to factor into decision making.
I think it's a clear-cut case of he'll play somewhere else. He will. Someone will give him a chance. Because, look, DUIs are bad. Awful. Don't drive drunk. It's even more disappointing because the guy's a millionaire and he couldn't just get a car.
And there's a car service.
But let's not act like we all don't know someone that's gotten a DUI, because everybody in this room probably does, or maybe even had one. I'll go ahead and say it. I've gotten one. Okay? It was dumb. I shouldn't have done it. It was a foolish mistake. But again, like, back off the guy a little bit. We don't know what he's going through. I'm not saying he's not, he didn't do a bad thing. He did, and he should be held accountable. But I don't know. It's just they've been really hard kind of on him, and I'm like, just back off a little bit. I think he probably now knows, yeah, that was pretty messed up. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and it's just like it just because that was the off the field incident, like people are going to rip him on that. Like, I don't think it matters. I think whatever it was, whatever would have happened for him, if it was any other arrest or any other type of incident, it would be the same thing, because people are already annoyed by his play on the field. I don't think they hate him as a human being, and I don't think
some people do.
Oh, of course, because some people are
Those
terrible.
fans.
Right, those guys. But yeah, like, you already have these feelings towards him as a baseball player, so when you see something like this that is off the field and also negatively contributes to the Braves as an organization, the view of the Braves, you see this, it's negative publicity for the Braves. It just all adds up, I think, and casual fans just will annihilate him.
Yeah, well, it's a distraction, obviously, when you're trying to win a championship. If the Braves stunk, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. It kind of, not that it would get swept under the rug, but anyway, I think his days are numbered in Atlanta, and he'll get released. I don't think we'll get anything for him. It's just kind of have to eat those numbers, but I'm excited, and just watching the timer here, it's almost time to wrap it up, but I want to thank you for coming on.
We got one more thing, Rob.
Let's talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
We got time.
Oh, yeah. Fave 5. We got to get you your Fave 5. You've got 5 favorite. It's kind of a tongue twister. 5 favorite Adam Sandler movies.
Okay, I'm going to start from 5 and work my way down to 1.
Oh, you got them in
Now,
order.
so these are in order, like 5 is my least and 1's my, like...
Yeah, 5
okay.
is, 5 of the least favorite, I guess you could say. So, did you guys ever see Hubie Halloween on Netflix?
Absolutely.
It's probably one of the dumbest movies ever, and I'll be the first to admit, but I could not stop laughing during the entire thing. This new wave of Adam Sandler movies, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, but that one to me was hilarious. Loved it. So I get that's kind of questionable. And I loved also when you told me that we were going to do this. I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan. I'm not afraid to admit it, but I do a lot of impressions and stupid stuff with my buddies, and they're always like, "Do the water boy."
Well, come on.
But
Do the water boy.
yeah,
mythical climb. Number 4 on that list, Happy Gilmore,
Okay.
which is probably toward the top for many people. I get that. Big Daddy. I was a huge fan of Big Daddy. Rob Schneider in that movie is hilarious.
I was just going to say my favorite scene of the whole movie is when he brings the sandwich over and they're having like the spelling contest. He's like, he pop banana. It's no fair. You give him easy words.
That was pretty good. That was awesome. Love that. Yeah, that was a good movie. And then Scuba Steve, funny character.
Just like an actual good movie.
Oh, yeah, hilarious. Billy Madison, number 2.
Okay.
And last but not least, the number 1 movie, The Waterboy.
Okay.
By far. I mean, because I'm a football player, I love it. It's the funny Louisiana Cajun theme. I mean, it's just when they're sitting around, they're talking about his bed sheets with Deputy Dog, and he's got giant pee stains on it. I mean,
Captain Insano.
Captain Insano, show no mercy. This is pure Eskimo ice glacier water. So that is my top 5 with Waterboy being number 1. But I know Hubie Halloween is kind of controversial, but still loved it.
There's so many, and that's why I say this. I'm probably going to say this most of the time when we do this, but like mine's ever evolving. Like your tastes get different throughout life, and like I don't know. There's so many good Adam Sandler movies, and I celebrate pretty much his entire catalog. That Jack and Jill thing can just go
yeah.
Click.
Awful.
But
Click.
yeah.
Sandy Wexler.
Click is actually one of my favorites.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's good. It's just kind of, I think it's like Nickelback. Like people make fun of it, but it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't.
Okay, wait, stop.
I just brought up
Nickelback is horrible. They're awful. You can like them if you want to, but I'm going to make fun of you every step of the way.
That's okay. No,
just know that.
I get that. That's totally fine.
You're getting
I mean, I don't listen.
T-shirt for Christmas.
I don't listen to them on a normal daily basis, but I think it was kind of like a trend, and then everybody made fun. Does that make sense? Like everybody started making fun of Click, so it caught on.
I forgot about that one, so I'll do mine. This not in order. Billy Madison. Okay, number 1 for me. Number 1 all day long, twice on Sunday. I love it. Happy Gilmore, Waterboy, Mr. Deeds. I love Mr. Deeds, especially John Turturro. Man, he's underrated in that movie. And the other actor I like, he was in The Mummy. I can't remember, but he's they're singing on the helicopter when they go to Wendy's. The other guy that's the assistant to
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser, yeah.
No. He was in The Mummy. He was the guy that burned up the map in the library. He ran the library, and she tore the whole library up. And he's like, "Why do I put up with you?" That
Why
guy.
can't I think of who
It's
that
a bit.
is?
It's been a long time since I've seen.
Well,
that
anyway,
movie.
he's a Middle Eastern actor. He's a Middle Eastern guy, but
Oh.
he sings Space Oddity when they're in the helicopter.
Okay.
That guy, I like, and he's not in it a lot, but that's what I like that part. And then Big Daddy, for what we just talked about, Rob Schneider's great.
Man, just a good movie. So I actually have, man, I love Sandler. I really like my cousins and I and friends like listening to the Adam Sandler CDs back in the day when they put out comedy CDs for you. Like, there's so many good ones. My absolute favorite at this moment, and if you haven't seen it, you have homework to do. That's My Boy
Oh yeah,
with Andy Samberg.
yeah, I've seen it.
Is
Yeah.
so incredibly funny. I thought it was, literally on the eye test, I thought it was going to suck. I laugh hysterically every time I watch that movie. So funny to me. Bulletproof.
I forgot about that one.
Him and Damon Wayans.
Yep.
I worked at a movie store in high school, and I watched them. I love that movie. The two of them together were just comedic genius, and I think James Caan was in that thing too. James Caan was
Jimmy Caan.
yeah. Click is actually on mine because for whatever reason, I guess I'm a little sensitive guy, but like that movie makes me cry every time I watch it because it's I don't know. Adam Sandler does this weird thing where he goes in like it's funny down the middle and then he just veers in a direction in some of his movies.
Never seen it.
Never seen Click?
No.
Dude, watch
It's
it.
worth a watch.
Yeah, just,
Nobody brought up The Wedding Singer though. I guess that's an honorable mention.
Oh,
Wedding
man.
Singer's good.
Well, so my last two are Happy Gilmore and Big Daddy. Happy Gilmore just because like that might be Billy Madison is great. Happy Gilmore might be his like most iconic movie.
Sure.
I think the most popular maybe, but I also one of my absolute favorites though. I mean, you can't beat half the cameos in that thing. And Shooter McGavin is just unbeatable.
I just want to add one more thing to that Billy Madison. I think Chris Farley's performance in Billy Madison should be commended as well.
Oh, of
That's
course.
probably why it's so high up on the list for me. R.I.P. Chris Farley, but
Yeah, man.
so funny.
I miss that guy so much.
Golly.
Well,
So funny.
And Big Daddy just the whole play with Sandler and Stewart and the whole Hooters tie-in and like it was just funny from beginning to end. But it is actually like a movie that had some sort of point. Like I told you, everything's funny, but sometimes they have a point. Sometimes they have something else. Sometimes it's just straight stupid and funny. But they're all good. And Adam Sandler, I think the reason Sandler came into my mind when I picked this category was mostly because like I love the way that he takes care of his boys. Like I love the Grown Ups franchise just because he got all his friends together and like, hey, you guys want to make a movie real quick?
Yeah.
So I'll hang out for a little while, make a movie. Schneider's in all his movies. Spade's in all his movies.
That's pretty much all Spade has. Spade just sits around and waits for Sandler to call. Oh, you're doing a movie? Okay, great.
Well, Grown Ups is like the perfect example of that. I mean, like everybody from every movie is in those Grown Up movies, and they're slap happy funny. But
I'm not a Kevin James fan.
Really?
Don't like him. Don't like him.
He also has like Happy Madison as a company.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Grandma's Boy?
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's great.
But like the movies he puts out that he's not even in are also amazing. Grandma's Boy, for everybody listening and watching, if you haven't seen it and you like to laugh, please go for
great.
it. It's incredible.
I once put a Facebook post out one time that said, regarding Kevin James, that if Here Comes the Boom was just an hour and a half of him trying to get off of a hammock, it might be funny. But other than that, no. So anyway, I'm watching the timer. He's got to go. He's got to get some adjustments on. You need to get your adjustment on and go see him. I'm going. Mark's going. We're all going. We're going to have him back. But Atlanta, we got to go. But we're going to be hitting you again next episode. See you next time. Thank you. We love you.
Do you believe?